A good friend of mine hit me up yesterday and asked me about Travis Hunter. So I'm going to tell y'all about Travis Hunter and what it would look like if he was in teal and black in Duval.
You are Locked On Jaguars, your daily Jacksonville Jaguars podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
She is 100% correct. It is your team every day here on Locked On Jaguars, and we thank you for making us your first listen. I'm Tony Wiggins, the host of the Locked On Jaguars podcast that you can find wherever you get your podcast, watching them, listening to them. We're there. Make sure you tap into the location of your choice to check out the podcast each and every day so you don't miss an episode. Here's what we got on the docket for today. Here's where we're going to end up. Are there any concerns about Travis Hunter as a football player? Yes, there are. It's probably not what you think. Positives, and it's probably everything that you think when I get to the positives. But first, we're going to start the show. What does Travis Hunter look like in Jax? The positives will be right in the middle of the show, by the way. All right, so what does Travis Hunter look like in Jax? He looks damn good. That's what he looks like in Jax. Let's start individually with defense. He immediately becomes cornerback one on this team. And I don't want people sitting here telling me about anybody that's already on the roster. They do not have somebody on the roster like him. They just don't. Sorry. He's cornerback one the moment he steps on the field. And that is something that, if you'll notice, part of getting better is making hard choices. And something that I have always said about the Jaguars potentially getting better is there are a lot of positions where the Jaguars could improve themselves more than cornerback. I got that. I'm fully aware and I understand it. So that is an attaboy to the three guys that everyone keeps talking about, and that's Tyson Campbell, Jordan Lewis, as well as Jarian Jones, who will be in his second year. It's a decent group, all right? There's a lot of other places the Jaguars could probably use a great player. But as I always say, it does not come in the order that you want it to. And I've always used the analogy about the gym. You got one problem area on your body. People that work out says don't target that area, just do a total complete workout and the weight will eventually come off. You cannot, unless you have lipo or something, you cannot just target an area and go to the gym and just work on that one thing and expect the results that you think you're going to get. It is the same way with a football team. So when you start prioritizing the things that the Jaguars need, and then, you can go out and get players to play those positions in free agency, but they got to want to come here, and you're competing against other people, and it costs money, right? That's one way of looking at it. And the money in the cap space is not limited. If you're New Orleans Saints, it probably is, but anybody else that lives in reality, it doesn't exist that way, right? So you have to be careful about the allocation of funds. The other thing is, what are you trying to lead with as a football team? So you have to factor that in. And then the way this works is you're picking fifth in the draft. To me, it's like you're picking third if they take two quarterbacks, because you ain't taking a quarterback. So it's almost like you're going to get a top three player at your position. And for the sake of this, we're not going to even entertain trades, okay? But I will tell you this, Travis Hunter and Abdul Carter are the two players that if somebody wants to move up that is not in the market for a quarterback, I can see them having opportunities to move around a little bit. But Travis Hunter plays cornerback, and at this point in the draft, in my opinion, he's the best player in the draft. That's just my opinion. He's the best player in the draft. Now, I know y'all heard me say I'm going to have some concerns, and I'm not going to spoil what those concerns are, but I got concerns with every prospect. It's just the way it is. I got concerns with all of them because you never know how they're going to react when they get to the show. I will talk about the positives about Travis Hunter in just a second. So we talked about the defensive side of the ball. Okay. He's not a pass rusher. He's not a free safety. The dude is a corner. with a very, very high IQ. He's cornerback 1 on this team, and he actually makes that position a position of strength for the Jaguars if they get him, because now Jordan Lewis can play his most natural position, and then you can allow Jaron Jones to be your 4th corner. That's not a bad place to be, because the way I see it, eventually he can either replace Jordan Lewis, who's 30 years old, or 2 years down the line, or a year or so down the line, maybe 2 years, if you want to move on from Tyson Campbell, you'll have an in-house replacement to slide right out there, and a guy you can extend to his 2nd contract. So many teams, too, they end up a lot in dime, and especially teams that get off to early leads. And if you get out in front and teams are playing catch up, usually you're in dime. You take a nose tackle and maybe one of those big linebackers off of the field, and now you have 4 corners along with probably 2 safeties, and everybody else is either up on the line of scrimmage, or you have 4 guys on the line and then 1 guy in the middle as a spy or whatever. But that's how this thing could work. He makes them better defensively. On offense, I can't even imagine. I said this yesterday, that if he gets on this receiving core and you line him up with Brian Thomas Jr. and Diami Brown, that you'd have the fastest trio. I wasn't that specific yesterday. I said the fastest wide receiver group. I was talking about all 3 players because I mentioned all 3. People wanted to tell me, no, somebody in South Florida has a lot to say about that. I don't even know who the 3rd receiver is in Miami. But I tell you what, Jalen Waddle's hurt so much, his speed has to at least have been diminished a little bit. And then you got to be on the field, man. You can't be limping off of the field every 5 plays. And trust me, I know, because I had him in fantasy football. I had to inject that in there. He's never available, it seems like. So for me, as a trio, they are all guys that can run through the defense, can take the top off the defense. All 3 of those guys would be that. And they're the type of players that if you throw a hitch or a quick out or anything involving jet motion, they all 3 turn into punt returners. They are run after the catch guys that can score from anywhere on the field. It'd be deadly, man. It'd be absolutely deadly for them as a trio. I'm going to talk about some of the characteristics that this young man has. And for the record, I will tell you this. I reached out to his rep, one of the people that is very, very close to him, with Young Money, which is who he signed with. I got a friend that I met a few years back at the Senior Bowl, and we interchange a lot. Sometimes he's even in Duval County. And y'all are seeing him too on some videos. In fact, he's the host of the podcast that you used to see Travis on, my man Bug. They're just not doing any interviews right now. The dude, he's working out. I actually tried to get Travis on the show, but I'm going to talk about the positives, and they are all good. I think he's a real, real good young man, and we'll do that in just a second here on Locked On Jaguars. Today's show is sponsored and brought to you by our friends over at FanDuel. March Madness is here, and FanDuel is giving you the chance to get in on the action like never before. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. That's 200 extra bucks to use on everything from buzzer beaters to Cinderella stories, and even who's cutting down the nets. I got to give John Calipari credit, man. He moved on over to Arkansas, and he's back in a very, very familiar place in his first year with the Razorbacks. So visit FanDuel.com and get in on the college hoops action all tournament long. That's FanDuel.com. You'll get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. All right, running it down here on Locked On Jaguars. Running it down here, talking about Travis Hunter. I got a text yesterday from a very, very close friend of mine. Y'all know him. I ain't going to mention him. I'm going to let him live in obscurity. He asked me about Travis Hunter. And the thing that he asked me about is something I'm going to cover in a little bit in segment number 3. But first, I want to point out the positives. When I see someone playing 100 snaps, going both ways, I don't think they do it from selfishness. I think this kid has, and I know this might sound blasphemous to a lot of people, but I'm going to use Michael Jordan. He's like Batman, dog. He's probably a kid that never sleeps. He's probably got, the way he's yoked up, he's got so much energy. I bet he probably has to eat like a maniac in order to even keep weight on, because I think he's a high metabolism guy. I think he just moves around, and because of the twitchiness, because of the competitiveness, I just believe that it's actually a testament to his heart, his competition level, the will to want to help the team. I think it's all good. I think his football character is extremely high. I saw him do some things instinctively, and we all wanted to talk about just his instincts when he came off of his man a few times in college and got interceptions. But he was doing things that it takes 30-year-old, 8-year pros to really, really know how to do. I don't think it's just instinct. I think it's also football IQ that comes from film study and hard work. I also believe that when he plays defense, he understands a lot of stuff that he sees because he also plays offense. And I believe when you switch that around, he can manipulate the defense because he knows exactly what these corners are thinking. He knows when he sees certain coverages because he actually has done those things, practically done them as a practice in his journey as a football player. I think all in all, he's a very, very good kid. One of the biggest things that he does for any franchise is he injects something into your franchise. Competitiveness, a dude that you don't have to wake up. He'll wake himself up. I think he's a first guy at the facility type player. I think he's a great teammate. I've heard nothing but great things about Travis Hunter. You guys can't discount how much an organization likes that kind of stuff. He is intangibly rich, as James Gladstone would say. And the things that he brings to a team, he gives you an injection of rare athleticism, twitchiness, combined with great, I want to call it conditioning, great conditioning. Travis Hunter is one of those dudes that if you're going to play kickball, you pick him first. If y'all going to play hopscotch, you pick him first. If y'all going to play basketball, you pick him first. He is that dude. He's him. He is him. He is a top 5 pick in any draft, regardless of year, as a wide receiver or as a corner. Now, I'm on record saying I prefer him to play defense and spot play on offense. There's nothing to do with his ability and what I think he's going to be better at. I'm just a believer in, I think corner you got to have a whole bunch of reps, man. You can give a guy a play sheet with 10 things on it that you want him to do in 10 situations on offense. I just think playing defense against guys like Justin Jefferson is hard enough when you have someone that reps that every single day in practice. All this talk on the TL about T-stepping and all of that stuff, I'll leave that to all of those diva cornerbacks out there that thinks one way is better than the other on how to play defense. But what I will tell you is, I don't care if you T-stepping, I don't care if you two-stepping. If you are not repping that constantly in the National Football League, that's a problem. And these guys will embarrass you. If y'all remember Jalen Ramsey in the Super Bowl against Cincinnati, it looked like he had a rough day, right? Part of that was I was actually arguing with a current NFL player's dad at a Super Bowl party about it. And he was saying he sucks. His technique is off. And I said, dude, Jalen Ramsey played star all year, and then they got in the Super Bowl and put him at corner, and he was playing press man against Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. To me, that's just suicide. You're making a mistake by doing it. I don't care how great of a player is. He hadn't been repping there all year, and you're putting him against great players in the biggest moment. Now, the Rams won the Super Bowl, but had Aaron Donald got there half a second late, Jalen had slipped down, and Jamar Chase was running wide open down the field and probably would have scored the game-winning touchdown on like a double move on a scramble route. So the thing is my only trepidation is for the people who say, well, no, you play him on offense and then you use him on defense when the game is tight. I think it's the other way around. I just saw a video of a kid from Washington State running right by him. I saw the kid from Stanford have a very, very, very good day against him when he was young. Make no mistake about it, the greatest corners get beat. I saw Deion Sanders have trouble with Alvin Harper and Michael Irvin. I saw Darrell Green give up 11 catches to Michael Irvin, and 10 of them went for first downs. I saw it. It was the only game. I think that was the only game. No, that wasn't the year. I was about to say that's the year Dallas went 1-15, but it's not it. But the thing is, man, I've seen them all. I saw Randy Moss come off the line and put his hand up and tell Tom Brady just throw the ball because he had Darrelle Revis, and Randy caught the ball with the same hand that he put up in the air and never touched the ball with his second hand. He just caught it and like, yeah, there's your little first ballot Hall of Famer right there. What you gonna do? Sometimes against great players, guys are going to get beat. I think you reduce that down, or you increase that when the guy's not full-time repping at that position. So how do you get the best out of him? To me, you get the best out of him by playing defense. If you're going to play him at wide receiver, play him at wide receiver and leave him alone. Don't even let him play defense. But you can let him play corner and play a little bit of wide receiver. That's just Tony Wiggins talking. Now, that's not everybody else. Do I have any concerns with Travis Hunter? I do. And I'll tell you what they are in just a second here on Locked On Jaguars. All right, got to get to this. You're going to get 10 good minutes of me telling you what my concern is with Travis Hunter. We kind of just hit on it a little bit, playing two ways. That playing two ways has a little bit of a detriment to it. I'm going to compare it to Reggie Bush. Even though Reggie Bush didn't play two ways, Reggie Bush was a guy, people say he could be an all-pro at running back. He could be an all-pro at wide receiver. He can play in the slot. He can do whatever you want him to do. He can return kicks. He can do all of this. So Reggie Bush kind of became the dude that did a whole bunch of stuff, but I don't think he ever became the dude that mastered one thing. He had a very, very good career. His NFL career, though, if it matched the hype that he had when he came out of college, he would have been a first ballot Hall of Famer. I get worried that Travis Hunter will fall into that Reggie Bush thing. Even though Bush didn't play defense, they were using him like a Swiss Army knife. Another person that probably didn't live up to their hype was Ricky Williams. Great player. I think Ricky won the rushing title. When Ricky was in Miami, Ricky was one of the three best running backs in the NFL. And he did a lot of stuff. He caught a lot of balls. He did all of these things. For some reason, he never really lived up to the hype. I think Travis Hunter is a dude that does a whole lot of stuff because people really, you can't keep him off the field, and he's an ultra competitor. There aren't a whole bunch of guys in the NFL that's scared of other players. There are a whole bunch of guys in the NFL that live to shut up people about a great player. And he's going to have a target on his back. I think this might be a situation where someone needs to say, look, this is what I want you to do, and you can have a great career doing that. And just leave it at that. I don't know that teams have it on their blueprint, on their trestle board, to have a player that you can play on both sides of the ball. It might start becoming a little bit, well, this is what we got him to do, so we need to make sure he gets this amount of touches, or we need to going totally against game plan to just make sure that they use this special weapon that they have. Instead of saying, okay, what does he bring to our team? Where can we play him? We know exactly how we're going to use him. I got a feeling that it's going to be a lot of experimentation when it comes to him in the National Football League. And every single thing that he does that does not end up in a positive result is going to get talked about over and over and over again. Mentally, do I believe he can handle that? Maybe. I think he's mature enough. But now we get to this other thing. How thick is his skin? Because if things go well for him, but he's judged differently because of the hype that he's had since he's been a junior in high school, how does he respond to it if he starts getting some criticism? What happens if somebody lights him up for 2 touchdowns and he spent half the time playing offense? What happens? Does he get off of social media the way that he did? Does he go off on people on social media the way that he did when they started talking about his personal life with his girlfriend? Does he? I don't know. Because I saw him do that. I saw him get angry and get off of his social media. And Deion Sanders even went on TV and said that he told him, "No, man, you don't deactivate anything. You have to say, people are paying you money to be a spokesman for things. You're doing these contracts. Bro, you got to stand in there and take that fire and that criticism. You can't let it get to you like that." And that was a little bit of the question that I got yesterday from a very, very close friend. I don't think that one time is something that we need to be worried about. I'm not worried about Travis Hunter's girlfriend. I'm not worried about anybody as a woman but mine, just like he said. And half of y'all need to be doing the same thing, but this is what it is in the entertainment industry now, worrying about what somebody else has going on. And you know, it comes with the territory, and I get it. Just because I get it don't mean that I subscribe to it or I like it, because I really, really don't. But that concern is a small one compared to the fact that these teams will have to figure out exactly how they're going to use him. Now, will he be receptive to only playing one position? What happens if he doesn't get the snaps that he's supposed to get? Is Coach Prime going to call out the coaching staff and saying they need to use him more on offense and he can play both ways and he did this before? The only reason I'm sitting here saying this way, it has nothing to do with him. It has nothing to do with his ability. It just has something to do with the fact that even before I started being credentialed and going to practices over the last couple of decades, I have just always had this respect for NFL players. It's the same reason I said Tim Tebow wasn't going to come to an NFL team after not doing football for 7 or 8 years and then make an NFL team. And people thought I was a hater. I'm not a hater. I'm just telling you what people can't do based on what NFL players have always said you have to do in order to be great. Your body is your business. You got to take care of yourself. You got to rep. You got to work. You got to put the work in. So when somebody doesn't put the work in, to me, that's a little bit of an alarm. It is impossible for him to put the work in at 2 positions without killing himself or getting tired. Can't tell me if he's doing half his snaps and half his reps in practice at corner and the other half at wide receiver, that he's getting the most out of it, because he's not doing all of his reps at that one spot. If you got 50 reps you're going to do and you're doing 25 and 25, that's not as good as doing 50 at one, in my opinion. Will there be pressure on teams to show off their new gadget? I remember Cordell Stewart. It seemed like everybody wanted Cordell Stewart to be a quarterback, a wide receiver. And Pittsburgh did the right thing and they played him, but to me, sometimes those things can just go against the program. Sometimes those things, in my opinion, can just kind of go against the grain a little bit too much of what these coaches are and how they like to move. We got to play Travis and we got to do this and we got to do that. Does that get into the mindset of the coaches when they start preparation? I never like teams. I never like players like in hoops that want to go out there with the mentality that they need to show people their entire tool bag. I'm going to show what I can do. We used to get on one of my godsons like that. He was the top 20 player in the country. And a legendary Hall of Fame coach told him one time at a camp, "Why weren't you shooting the ball?" And he says, "Well, everybody says I'm a shooting point guard. I got 15 assists." He says, "I don't care about what everybody says. I didn't come here to see you be Chris Paul. I came here to see you be yourself." He says, "I just saw you in Arizona. I saw you hit 30 points in the first half, and you were 15 playing 17 and under. He had 7 3-pointers, had 30 points in the first half. Then I come see you here and you're out there looking like something you're not. Be yourself. Don't play the game trying to prove to people that you can do stuff. So a lot of this stuff kind of scares me just a little bit, but that's my only concern. And that concern to me isn't big enough for us to not take Travis Hunter at number 5. I know everybody has a different opinion. I'd love to hear yours in the comments as well as on social media. I think Travis Hunter's a good kid. I think he has good people around him. He's done a very, very good job of making himself better, doing the things that he needs to do in order to get to this point and be a very, very good football player. I'm not concerned about anything with him physically or mentally. A little bit concerned about how he may deal with things if things don't go his way. Make sure, if you want all of the information and an in-depth breakdown of all of the players that I have been mentioning lately and will continue to mention as we lead up to the draft, make sure you check out Locked On NFL Draft. Damian Parsons, Coach Keith Sanchez, 2 guys that do this better than anybody, can break this down like no one else. Make sure wherever you get your podcast, whether you watch or listen, you tap in to that location and check out my brothers. All right, man. So we're going to keep, while we're headed up to the draft, we're going to keep profiling guys and trying to get a vision of what they would look like if they were here in Duval County. For the most part, it seems like on social media, everybody's saying, if he's on the board at 5, you got to take him, Wig. I think people just want to know that they are getting the best athlete, the dude that dominated just about every time he got on the field. Magic just seems to happen when he's on the field. I think Travis Hunter is a very good player who will be a very good pro. My take is you play him on defense and every now and then use him on offense. But that's what I do, and that's just me. All right, man, thanks for joining us here on Locked On Jaguars. We'll see you next time.